I wanted to share with you tonight about key practices for sustainable success. So the way this is going to go is I want to present the talk with you. So I will be opening the screen share here in a minute and we'll walk through it. And then, so save your questions, and what I'll do is when we're finished with the slides, and you can put them in the chat too, but to preserve the integrity of the entire talk, I will take questions at the end, and we'll just open the line up for everyone who's still on then, and we can have a conversation until we're done having a conversation. So I want to make sure that you guys get your questions answered and that you feel comfortable. So is that okay with everybody? You guys good with that? Okay, perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Oh, for those of you who haven't met me or we haven't had the opportunity to meet each other anywhere yet, I'm Shari Goodwin, and I'm a business strategist and leadership coach, specialize in reinvention, and a passionate horse lover. And I'm just happy that you're here tonight. So thank you so much for making the time. And what I'll do is go ahead and start the screen share here. There you go. Can you guys all see that? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so welcome to Business Refresh 2021, Key Practices for Sustainable Success. And this is the most important point, the most important word. There's two words here that are really important, and that's sustainable and success. So we're looking for long-term sustainability, not just a flash in the pan. There's lots of quick fixes that folks can do just to get some immediate revenue generated, and that's awesome. But what we're looking for really here is sustainable success. So I want to share with you some of my top teaching on this, some foundational concepts, and hear your thoughts on this as well. So that's what we're going to do. So here's the outline for today. I want to give you a little bit of background on awareness and some of the impacts. So we'll set the stage a little bit, and then we will jump into some of the hardcore business concepts around value proposition and target market considerations, some service delivery options that you may or may not be employing right now, and a little bit on outreach. And in the process of all of this, I will be weaving in my own experience and some of my own stories and different things from clients that will be hopefully helpful for you as well. This is one of my favorite trees on our property. I took a photo of it in the winter, I think it was last year, and it just, for me, it really is everything you need to know is right there. In that image. What we're going to be doing is really deepening the roots down into the earth, even stronger than before, and being able to rise up into the sun stronger than you may have ever been before. So that is my intention for this afternoon, this evening. So what I've noticed from the pandemic is that we really have a spotlight and a new awareness. It's really spotlighted our everything from our strengths to our vulnerabilities to our values and to the gaps that we may have in our business and in our lives, and really brought that to light. And so when I think about that, I see that as a fantastic opportunity. It's scary. I mean, you know, sometimes when you shine that dark light, or you shine a light into a dark corner, and you're like, oh my gosh, especially if you have in-laws and you see what's in that corner. And it's a little frightening. Or it could be a corner of your life that you kept hidden for a while, and all of a sudden there's a spotlight on it. And there's some things there that you really would rather not see. And it's an opportunity to address them and eliminate them and move them on. So I think that's what's happened for a lot of us during this pandemic. And some of the awareness that has come out of this is obviously this whole technology boom. We need to be very mindful of being up to speed on the technology, leverage it as much as possible, be digitally relevant and agile. And all of this applies whether you are a small business owner, a solopreneur, entrepreneur, or you're going through some type of a career shift. You may be moving to a new job, a new company, you may be having a wholesale reinvention of sorts. So we're going to be looking at this from two perspectives, looking at this whole concept of sustainable success from these two vantage points. And in the former, if you're a business owner and entrepreneur, you'll be selling services or product. If you are a career person who's making a switch or a professional of some sort, you are going to be selling your gifts to the world. So that is, whatever you do, your resume and all of your experience there. And really the concepts are the same, some of these principles. So it'll be fun to check some of these out as we move forward. Then the other piece of this with the pandemic is this huge need for connection. I don't know about you guys, but there's this craving for deep, meaningful connection. And, Zoom can do pretty well, but it's still, we have this kind of distance here. So folks are looking for a deeper level of connection, and whoever can provide that is going to be more attractive, quite frankly. And figuring out how to create that level of deep connection on a technical or technology platform is essential. So we're all navigating that space right now, trying to get comfortable and just forget that, that we're in different spaces. So even for now, just pretend that we're all in a room together. You're either all here at the farm with me. I welcome you all in. Jim is here. We've got the horses. We have the dogs. In fact, one of the dogs wanted to jump in the chair. So we're just going to create this environment in our mind right now. And I welcome you all right here. So let's just pretend for the next hour or so that we're together, that we are truly, truly, truly together. And you can feel that in the heart. Hopefully you can feel that from me. So I'm grateful to have you here in my home. There's also this desire for a deeper impact and meaning. I've seen a lot of that too. People the status quo is no longer okay in many cases. People got a little bored, or the spotlight showed that their job really wasn't all that it was, or the job was quite good, but maybe there's something else that you want. Or maybe your business is a massive success, but you've become a victim of your own success. This is the extremes of things are always a little bit of a challenge. Or on the flip side, your business is kind of bumping along and it took a big smack during the pandemic and you're trying to breathe some life into it. So these practices work for all of this. And then there's this whole element of social consciousness that's emerged over the past year, environmental justice and racial inequalities and all kinds of different causes. So, being mindful and sensitive towards some of these broader issues, these global issues, whatever your cause is also important. So being able to kind of take a stand for something is important now. People are really looking for purpose, deeper meaning and connection. So this is the backdrop. This is some of the backdrop from the new business climate I see. So these are Shari-isms. I did do, every time before I give any kind of talk, I always do my normal scan of everything from the Harvard Business Review to Engineering News to the Wall Street Journal to all kinds of different news outlets, just to see, what are they calling the success strategies now, and is that lining up with how I'm thinking? And quite frankly, I didn't find a whole bunch of new stuff from the talk that I gave back in, I think it was over the summer, when I talked about pandemic trends and success trends. So these are some things that have come out and I think are really important to bear in mind as we move forward. So speaking of shifts and moving from the status quo, I've done that a number of times. And so for those of you who haven't met me, this is a quick snapshot at a glance. I have a master's in environmental biology. I was an environmental scientist for 20 years, and I had fits and starts of entrepreneurial outbursts during that time, as I like to call them. So those are a few of my business cards, Tetra Tech and SAIC. There's not even one, I don't even have the ones from Fire and some of these other places I've worked. And then I dabbled in environmental consulting for a little while. I was a riding instructor for a little while, and worked in succession a little bit. So I've done a lot of different things before Jaeger too, and had this high-tech staffing company which I ran back in 1998. So yeah, so as an environmental scientist, so you can kind of see over here, there's me with a little hard hat, which you kind of can't tell because we all look the same because we're all wedged with our little heads in the hard hats. But this is a power plant. I spent a lot of my career working on water quality issues and discharge permitting and power plant regulation. And in fact, this project led to, we were supporting EPA, and it led to a Supreme Court case. It got elevated all the way up to the US Supreme Court. So we were responsible for providing the technical litigation brief to support the Department of Justice attorneys, which was really incredibly awesome because we also got to hear it. It was heard, and we went to the Supreme Court and sat there and listened to it. So it was an amazing experience. And at that point, when I left there, I had just led a $65 million contract, so I felt really good about that. So folks were okay for the next 5 years while I went off onto my latest entrepreneurial outburst, which was Jaeger 2. And this one over here, this was cold call sales. This was a high-tech staffing firm. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I almost had that go down into the toilet. There was no business. It was zero. And then it was in the red, negative, 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 because I was having all kinds of issues and I was scared to death and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought I was working really hard and I did all these things that you're supposed to do, but they weren't working. Until I made some switches, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the latter part of that first year was able to get it to 2.1 million. So this is really about high impact. It's about working smarter, not harder. And then I wrote a couple of books over the past few years as part of Jaeger 2, leadership books, and incorporated the horses into this. So it's been a bit of a journey. So for all of us, our position of impact here is the nexus point of our passion, our strengths and expertise, and then what the market has traditionally wants, needs, and is willing to pay for. I prefer to say not just wants, but craves, because if you get someone craving your service, that's an awesome thing. And you really love that kind of work with the passion, and you have your strengths and expertise to deliver on that. That's a really high impact place because you're able to step into your entire being and use all of you, all of your faculties to provide the greatest good. So we're always looking at navigating that and just to figure out your passion. You know, some people don't know what that is, and that's a whole journey of exploration. Strengths and expertise. Normally we kind of have a sense of our expertise. We may or may not have a sense of our strengths. If you don't know your strengths, or you want more clarity on your strengths, the Clifton Strengths Top 5 assessment is great. It's like $20, and I'm not affiliated with them. I get nothing from them, but I do use that, and it'll give you a general sense. Because if you're working in your strength zone every day, you're happier and you're more productive and you're just better. The world's a better place. So check that out if you have not done so already. So this is what we're going to be navigating towards, is this position of impact every day. Another piece of this positioning for impact is this follow the love model that I developed back when I was writing Reinventing Greatness, actually before that. And I was really thinking about, you know, how do you come at this high impact zone kind of place? And the heart is the biggest, most emotionally resonant organ in your body. And when you are fired up in your heart space, that thing's got superpowers. And when you blend it in there with your strengths and your expertise, man, it's just fabulous. So what we want to do ideally is do what you love, you know, figure that out. That can be a whole journey too, and that's fine, but do what you love. I think most of the people who are on this call kind of have a general sense of that. For those who you love to serve, and these are your ideal clients, we'll talk about them in a minute, who greatly appreciate you. All right, because this is a generative process. We do not want to have you working, doing something you love for people that, an organization that you love to serve, who feels kind of about you. That's just not good. That's just not good. You know, and we've all probably donated time to some organizations where we really appreciate the organization, we love the work, whatever, and they're like, kind of take you or leave you as a volunteer. You know, that's not good either. So that's an energy suck. So this bottom part of this pyramid really is really important. So if you're not feeling the love back, it might not be a good fit for you. You can take that love that you feel and the people that you are that you love to serve, and you can go take that and you can put it someplace else. And when you find the people who really appreciate you, oh my gosh, it makes all the difference in the world, and you want to even give more, right? You're better. because you're not constantly worried about whether or not you're doing a good job, or, did you do something wrong? All wasted energy. Okay, so when you do get into this place, here's what's possible. And this is just a few examples of some of my clients, and they're just amazing people. I'm so grateful to get to work with every single day. So top financial performance is pretty much happens all the time. Some have founded new organizations. Some have secured new C-suite and other leadership positions, multiple six-figure salaries, even in a pandemic. They've reached new markets. They've prepared new online courses, which are selling well. Certainly better team alignment and increased productivity there. But these last two bullets are actually what I find really, really important, because they're more confident and more peace of mind, and there's just more joy. And when you have more joy, you have more to give. So it's this beautiful cycle of good to great, greatness. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing. And it does take some navigating to get into this zone. We're not going to talk about the high impact leadership model today. I have talked about that in the past many, many times. If you want to look at that, go on my YouTube channel. There's videos all over there about the high impact leadership model. But we're not going to talk about that today because we have some other things that I want to share with you. So that's what's possible there. And then, as you guys know, this goes back to this heart piece, right? And this deep connection piece, that business is relationship based. And someone I was talking to the other day just said, "Oh, Shari, it's not what you know, it's who you know." And I had to think about that. And I think that, yeah, it is. And it can be also about what you know, but it's really about, I think Maya Angelou said, it's about how you make another person feel. They may not remember what you said, but how did you make them feel? So when you get into that place of feeling, and you have the expertise, then it's just like you're right through the goalpost. So what we want to do here is use our entire being as a sensor. And what I mean by that is, and this I get from the horses, working with the horses all the time, is they use full body awareness all the time. They're experiential animals, meaning their sensitivity and sensory input is all around them, and they're constantly getting input from the environment, from their herd mates, from everything around them. And we need to be doing that same kind of thing as we navigate the world in our business and our career, professionally, personally, because people can tell the difference. When you're just parroting back facts and things, that's one thing. When you're in it and you're fully invested with your entire being, it's a totally different experience. I mean, right? Think about people you've talked to and you're like, whoa, they are fully engaged. Totally different experience. And if you get one of those people working for you, or you are one of those people and you're working for some other person, you're giving them everything you've got. And that's just awesome. So we want to be using our gut, which is where you really truly believe that what you're selling, if you're in business, is in the best interest of the other. It will really help them, right? So if you have that kind of sincerity and you come at it from that perspective, and at it, by that I mean all your conversations, your marketing, your outreach, your offerings are coming from that place, then it resonates because you start connecting heart to heart. You're starting to really understand the other. And then your head, you support this feeling place and this believing place with all of the other data, all the head stuff, the figures, the trends, the analyses, the testimonials, the prove it stuff, the evidence. And when you do that in the right way, you don't want to flood people with this. You have to be mindful of how they can receive, right? And if they want to receive, then you begin inspiring trust. And what we're really looking for here is to be the safe place, be a safe place for others, especially now coming out of a pandemic. And it's such a relief to be with someone where you can just land and you can just do the work and you do it well and it's received well and people are buying. So this applies to yourself, using your entire being and building trust in yourself, in your team if you have one, in your prospects, and it's this nurturing relationship. This was a really wonderful moment I had with an elderly horse. He's since passed, and he was known as kind of being curmudgeon-y and didn't like people. And I just sat there in the sun. It was a freezing cold day, but I sat there, and he's not my horse, and he I got kind of curious, and he came over and he just hung out. And I didn't have to pet him or anything like that. It wasn't about that. It was about just being with, right? Because that's a gift. And sometimes that's all you need to do with your prospects is just be with, just show up and let them come to you and your team. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So what we're talking about here is ideal clients, all right? So ideal clients and ideal companies to work for. It's the same thing. Client can be a company. Client is you know, a business client. All of these guys, your best ones, are going to follow you if they know you, like you, and trust you, and you have the proven expertise, right? That's what they're looking for. They want to be guided away from pain and towards pleasure. These are basic things. Horses are the same kind of thing. They want sincerity, like we just talked about. They want this commitment to them, to this product, to their service, to their organization. They want to feel that from you. And then they want to know how you benefit them. You know, what's the gain? What's the outcome? Why should they buy from you, right? So this is, we'll talk about that in a minute. But you want to create a picture for them. They see themselves living the benefits you describe. So if you're in sales, if you're a business person, well, we're all in sales, but if you have a business, you want to make sure that you are providing for them this image, this visual, this sensory experience of living the benefits of your work, all right, if they buy from you. Same thing at an organization. If you're looking to move to a new organization, the employer wants to make sure that they see you, imagine you contributing to the vision in a purposeful way. Right? So that's up to you to start having these types of compelling conversations and thinking about that. It's really other oriented. So we really need to get into the minds of the ideal client and sort that out. So following those they know, they like, they trust, that's Lemon Squeezy up at the top there. And that was one of our workshops and one of the first times he's ever been used in a workshop. And he, you know, but he was like, yeah, man, I kind of know you guys. I like you guys. I trust you well enough. But the coolest thing about that picture, if you notice, if you look carefully, is that we are absolutely in sync, all right? It's not planned, but look at the feet, the horse's feet, our feet. Look at our heads. I mean, and that's what happens. That's the kind of the visual presentation of what's happening in your business when you're all aligned and moving forward well. Physical manifestation. Okay, so this chart is one of my favorite charts, and still we're laying some of the foundation before we jump into some of the more specific tactics. So this one I call states of transformation. And as business owners, as professionals, as adults, as humans, we go through these states all the time. And it's really important to avoid self-sabotage and to understand where you are in this process so that you can help yourself get to a better state. And I developed this from working with horses as well. And horses have obviously informed most of my teachings as well as business experience. So with this one, there's basically two fundamental, I feel, there's two fundamental emotional states. You're either feeling safe and you trust and you're fine, or you're not, right? So I call this trust and then fear. And that's just a line that I drew for illustrative purposes. But let's pretend you trust, right? So you go in and you're feeling pretty good. And you're feeling like you can trust yourself, you trust the other, you're feeling safe. And when you're feeling safe, you can start to explore. And then you start to see options, and then you grow. But at any point, you may flip, right? You can go from feeling pretty safe to, whoa, somebody just said something and now I don't feel so safe. I start to feel unsure. And you flip to the other side and you start to feel unsafe. And as soon as you start to feel unsafe, you start triggering that fight, flight, freeze mechanism in the limbic brain. And you start, you usually pause, right? There might be a pause. Well, certainly if you're in a meeting with somebody and you start feeling unsafe, or a colleague comes in or something happens, there's usually a hesitation and a pause before you either start darting for the door or stammering or take the breath and get yourself together. And sometimes we start to freeze and we get a little stuck And then the world starts closing in and we don't see any options, or we only see the options that their default options from our past. That's the only thing we see. And then you start shrinking back from your potential, really is what it is. So the way out of that is to get curious. All right. So, well, first you need to know where you are. First you need to stop and pause and be like, all right, hold on. I'm having a weird feeling right now. I'm getting a little scared. I'm getting a little nervous. What is that? And when you say, what is that? You're starting to get curious about that state. And just that question, what is that? It distances you from that direct fear hit, right? It creates a little bit of separation. And that's all you're looking for, is this moment of separation where you can start to clear and rebalance and start to get up to the top of the trust side of this. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. So, and you'll feel yourself. So next time you can do this even on the phone, if you're talking to a relative and they get into a conversation, you're like, eh. If you might get mad, you're like, why am I getting mad? I'm feeling a little unsafe. I'm feeling threatened. Maybe it's a viewpoint that's feeling threatened. It could be something as simple as that. So when you start to notice that, and then you can take the breath and just be like, you know what, I'm going to decide right now to let that go and let them have their stuff. That's on them. I'm not going to worry about it. Because this happens in sales conversations as well. People put up all kinds of barriers around fear, right? And they may not buy from you. And that's totally fine. We just need to do a little bit more work to settle everything. It might have been that you introduced something a little bit too early. You made an ask a little too early. All of this is okay. It's just information, and it's important to know where you are. So you get curious and you flip yourself over to the other part of this circle. So where people buy and where employers hire is on the see many options in the grow space, right? So that's where we want to be. That's where we want to try to start living. Okay, so let's jump in to the why. So regardless of whether you're looking for a new career, or you're moving into some new space, or you're in business, you need to check your why. And especially now, because we kind of had our world tipped all over the place. So go back and do some fundamental work here. This is about building for sustainable success, right? So it's important, like you saw that tree in the beginning, we're building the roots. We want to go check those roots because you may want to move some things. So why is this work so important to you? I mean, seriously, think about this. And if you're not thinking about it right this minute, think about it after the call. But why is it so important to you? And keep going into why else, why else. And if you don't know what the work is yet, that's okay. You're in what I call a reconnaissance phase. But if you are in business, check this. And what's your story around this work? What's your role in this work? How are you serving in this? Because remember, your first sale is to yourself. We hear this all the time, and sometimes it's discounted. But you have to really think about, would you really buy what you're offering? And would you pay the price that you're offering? What would you think about that price? Would it be a no-brainer price? Or would it be like, oh, I only spend, X number of dollars on whatever it might be? Would you hire you? Would you hire you at that salary? Would you hire you at that rate? This is a really important price check, right? Why or why not? Because what happens, you want to be in alignment. If you're like, okay, I want these people to spend, say, $1,000 on my service, or $10,000. Let's say $10,000. I want these people, here's my pricing for this offering. I want them to pay 10 grand. When's the last time you paid 10 grand on professional development or on some type of service? Think about it. Have you done it recently? If you have, cool. You know what it takes. You know what that might take nothing for you, and it might be like, oh, I really need to give this some thought. And if you haven't, you never want to go and ask people to take a leap without you having had experienced that same sense in some space of your life. It doesn't have to be, the same service or anything, but it does make a difference. It really does make a difference. I know whenever I'm asking people to spend money on investing in themselves, investing in their business, investing in that, I think about it. And I think about, what have I done in my life? Where is the leap for me? Everybody's risk level is different, but think about that, because it's really important. And you may need to sit like the thinker there on a little stool. It makes you look really smart. Maybe you'll get smarter vibes. All right, so let's hop into the value proposition. So now we're going to switch a little bit to some more hardcore business tactics here. So your value proposition is your why in action. And you want to know what the benefits of your product or service are. You know, what's happening here? What problem are you solving? What pain are you relieving? What pleasure are you providing? How are you like your ideal client? A lot of us are actually serving the market of folks that are very similar to us. So what's driving you? So there's this huge self-awareness piece that's really, really important and helpful. All right. So the same thing if you're working in corporate, you know, what are the benefits of your product or service? If you're leading an organization or you're going to be leading another organization or whatever it is, you know, what's the problem that you're solving? Where's the pain point? How can you give some relief to that pain point? What do your clients really need? And then why should your ideal client buy from you as opposed to somebody else? Because there's competition, right? Tons of competition. So this little phrase at the bottom here is a basic template for a value proposition that I encourage everybody to play with. You don't have to use exactly that phrase, but it does include all components of the target market and then your service and then the benefit. So it makes sure that you're addressing all three of those pieces when you're having conversations. So I help who, you know, this is your target market, do what so that what, you know? And if you stop at the I help blank do blank, that's lovely. And that's what mostly we hear in networking events and things, but you're not really showing your benefit or your outcome. And that's where your true value is. If you're not showing your value, they're like, oh, well, that seems like a nice person. You're selling yourself short. So this little shot up on top there, I was asked to give a keynote talk at George Mason's University School of Business and brought in some of my slides from some work with Lemon Squeezy, which I can promise you that most of those students had never seen anything like that in their life. So it's super fun and just trying to weave some of this stuff together and you never know. And this was all based on, for me, it was based on my passion and how that integrates into something that would be of value for them. And in that one, we were talking about stepping outside of their comfort zone. And these were all, you know, going to be new grads of the business school. So they were all really nervous to get out and excited to get out there in the workplace. So here you go. What makes you unique? These are some bunch of bullets here of possibilities. So think about what makes you unique. I know we have several people on the line right now. Well, all of you guys are amazing. And even if I don't know you, I know you're amazing because you're on this call. But there are all kinds of things. And all of you are innovative and creative. And some have very specific expertise in certain areas. We want to make sure to showcase all of these kinds of things. Even character is a unique differentiator. Some people are really funny. Some people are super warm. Some people are very serious and clinical, and that's perfect for their work. There can be other things that are a little bit different. So this is outside of resume. I mean, some of the education, training, certificate, you know, all that stuff, that's all fine. But education for me, if you're in business, I mean, that's just like a check mark. It often doesn't even come up. So the most important thing are these other kinds of things. What are you passionate about? Where are you giving your time? What kinds of results have you created for help people create or help others create? Maybe you exceed industry standards on certain kinds of things. Maybe you have a really cool passion. Maybe you've done some volunteer work, some pro bono stuff that you feel really excited about. I know I have lots of friends that you know, fly all over. Well, they used to fly all over the world doing relief work, and that can be a wonderful way, a connection point to your ideal clients. And I'm sure there are a whole bunch of you guys on the line tonight who are horse people, right? And that's why are you here? You can go and listen to any business strategist or anything. You're here because you love horses, and I love horses. I love horses. So, I mean, I spend a ridiculous amount of money on horses all the time. And that is a passion point of mine. So we're connected there. And, you know, maybe if you need support, I might be able to help you. Maybe if I need support, maybe you can help me. This is how it goes, because we buy from those we know, we like, and we trust. And there's many of you on the line who I am your ideal client, and I have bought from you repeatedly. So this is how it works. It's not always a straight up, here's my service, here's my product, buy from me. It's, hey, I just love what you did over here. I saw you ride somewhere, or I heard about your horse on Facebook or some kind of thing, and you get connected. And then it becomes this mutually beneficial relationship. So I love to do it like that, to kind of backdoor it. Lots of different ways to go about doing this, but and you can stalk too. I know there's a few people on this line tonight who are really good at healthy stalking, kind of checking things out behind the scenes without being seen. That's your recon. That's how you get information. So you can find corporate owners, you can find sponsors, you can find all kinds of people online, and then look at their background and see where you might have a connection point with them on a passion point, right? Or go to one of their talks, or go to one of their events, or listen to some of their webinars, and then call them afterwards and tell them how much you liked a certain part of it. It's got to be sincere though. You must have liked it. Don't just use them, right? Because this is how we do it. And it's wonderful. It's really fun, actually. It's kind of a game. Okay, so here's the case study. So I mentioned this information technology staffing business where I did all those cold calls. All right, so here's what happened. So this was back in, when was this? 1998. So right before Y2K, if you're old enough to know about Y2K, year 2000, right? Yeah, fizzle pop. So there, right along the Dulles corridor up here in Virginia, there is all these new information technology outfits, including AOL, and all these guys were starting up. So it was a great opportunity. And I was an environmental scientist and had a great job, but my family ran an IT staffing business in California, and they've been really eyeballing the East Coast. They said, oh, Shari, you should run it, you should run it. And I'm thinking, why should I run it? I don't know anything about any of this stuff. This doesn't make any sense, whatever, So I started feeding them all these leads. Well, they did nothing with the leads because I live here, and I thought, oh, I'm just a strategist and I love strategy. So I thought I'll just feed them well. So they started throwing them right back at me and saying, hey, why don't you just do it? So at one point I said yes. And there was no seed money. There was nothing. There were no connections. There were nothing. So zero. So I sat not in this room, the room next door, little office, and I started doing some research, and I made a little pitch, and I carefully scripted it out and everything. And I thought, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it said that right there. Let's see. We offer information technology consultants to meet your most pressing needs in network infrastructure, programming, systems administration, and web development. And let me tell you, the phone, it was in the days of the phone. Hang up, hang up, hang up. I mean, I would get like partway through and they just hang up on me. I was completely shocked, because here I am, the same person as an environmental scientist just before I quit that job, which why did I quit that job? And I was respected by a lot of people, not everyone, but some people. I mean, usually I tell them they do environmental science, master's in biology, it's kind of sounds good. No, now I'm this lousy headhunter who's like doing slimy sales. It was like a complete shift. I didn't even know who I was. So I had a whole big issue with that until I finally realized, oh my gosh, I am being totally motivated by fear. I have not made this my own. I don't even really know what these guys do. I just feel like I'm supposed to like find people for them. I can find people, I'm really good at that, but I hadn't really done my due diligence at understanding the human piece of these other companies, right? Like, why are they doing that? What are they really doing? Oh my gosh, they put their heart and soul into this, and they're 25, making a ton of money. But these are really interesting people. And when I started, I just threw away the script. And I just said, this is just not working for me. I was supposed to be making like 50 calls a day. So I said, you know what, no, I'm just gonna call ones that I feel drawn to. And I was kind of drawn to web development. At that point, it was e-business, or they're calling it e-business, e-commerce, making these little portals, which we use now all the time. But that was a big deal back then. And I thought that part is really intriguing. I want to learn more. So I started learning more, and then I realized, you know what, I kind of like Microsoft NT. I don't even know if we have that anymore, but that's what they had a few different platforms. And I thought, going to focus on that. So I started learning all the language around the Microsoft NT platform and the ASP, all these different Java things and stuff. And I was able to speak to these guys, and I had done computer systems documentation earlier in my career. So I knew about programming, I knew about systems development lifecycle, knew about project management from my other career. And so I just started, I used my own story. I connected with these guys on a deeper level. I only made a handful of calls every day. And within 6 months, we generated 2.1 million. Because I changed my pitch. I decided we were going to claim this experts in web portal development thing using a Microsoft NT platform. So focus, right? And then telling them one of their biggest pain points was not being able to meet their delivery dates, their release dates. So they get all this venture capitalist funding, and they use it all up, and then they wouldn't have product to show. So I just addressed that pain point, get some people in there. We had staff teams. We had some of the best talent, and that talent told other talent and said, hey, call the Jaeger group. She's got these great gigs. We're having so much fun building this stuff. And so then I had all this great talent that we could just put all over the place. It was really amazing. I mean, really huge lessons here that you can apply to any business. All right, so in the highly effective pitch, and it's not even that great, could even be better, but it's good enough. It gave them, what we do, experts in web portal development on the specific platform, and then address the pain point. So that's kind of a formula. All right, so I'm going to give you guys some more examples of this. So this is, let's see here. Oh yeah, value proposition examples. All right. So for a marketing firm, if you have a marketing firm, say something like, our custom approach helped a client grow his family business 300% in 3 months and become cash flow positive for the first time ever. Right, so it's kind of a lot of language in there, so you can see how you can change up that little template one phrase that I gave you, the one sentence. So these guys have a signature approach. They have a custom approach. They helped a client, and we're not saying what kind, like what kind, who's your target market, they definitive, but it says his family business, right? So you can glean something from that, a family business. 300% in 3 months, cash flow positive for the first time. Hit the pain point, you can almost feel the joy coming out of that, right? So we all know a bunch of financial advisors. How do you pick your financial advisor? I mean, this is a big deal. So here's one example, and these are made up things. Man, I made these up. So, and they're not even that great. You get a marketing person in here, they do even better. But you get the general gist, and you can switch them around. So for the financial advisor, we say, possibly, for generations, I've helped families grow their wealth, send their kids to college, take dream vacations, and retire early with confidence. Those are some pretty major value add benefits, right? This is what people want. They want the peace of mind because the kids' tuition is huge. They're never taking a vacation because they're saving for college. They can't retire because they have to work all the time to pay off their mortgage or second mortgage. These are the pain points. And for generations shows the longevity. And then this engineering firm. So here's another one. We'll be 20 years. 20 years, we've designed and built beautiful wetlands that help state planners improve community health and vitality while meeting regulatory requirements. Again, a little long, could be a little shorter, but you get the gist. Beautiful wetlands. So their target market here is state planners. So they're going to look for state funding, right? Improve community health and vitality. So this isn't just a constructed, a constructed wetland for water quality mitigation or purification. It's also like could be a park, right? While meeting regulatory requirements. Again, another pain point. So these are just a few examples of how you can start to position your organization. So I'm just taking a sip of water here. Yeah, so you can do the same thing. You got to think about this too. So if you are positioning in the workforce for something new and you're looking for a job, a high-level job, medium job, whatever you're looking for, you can move your languaging around, make some adaptations to some of these examples to kind of have an opening phrase when you talk with people, or sneak it in, after the first paragraph of conversation or something. But you want to know what the pain points are. When I worked in government contracting and I gave some talks, I would always, depending on who was in the audience, I would flip my examples. So you could take these examples and you could flip them to GovCon, especially in the DC metro area. You could flip them to small business, professional services. You could flip them to product. You could do anything with them. And many times you're not going to just have one value proposition. You're going to have multiple value propositions that you're going to use for different segments of your market, right? So that it's flexible and adaptable, especially now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about your target market. A lot of times people deliver these kinds of business talks, I think, backwards, because they talk about target market first. And if you notice, I actually talked about value proposition first and gave you that equation, the sentence first. But that's starting with the end in mind, because if you don't know what your why is, and you don't know what the benefits are, the who is like, what? You got to figure out, because sometimes what can happen is you can put something out there and it's getting rave reviews from a market that you didn't expect, right? And then you better go back and look at that why and be like, whoa, who am I reaching with this why? What's going on here? And you just change it just a smidge and you refocus your service, and you have this incredible market of people who crave what you bought, what you're selling. Or you have an incredible market of organizations who are craving your talent with just one little flip. That's what can happen. So we have to be able to be flexible in our minds and look at things from different perspectives to open new options. You can't do that if you're in fear-based mode. You have to have self-trust and confidence. So, okay, let's talk about target market. This is about focus. This is Fresco. Fresco's focusing, and he's keeping his eye on the ball. Fresco is now 22, if you can believe it. Some of you guys have been with me since he was born. Can't believe that. So think about who have been his clients and why. Focus on getting more. Who have been these best clients? What are they really getting from you? And then what kinds of people and organizations do you best support? You really want to niche this, not everyone. And that Jaeger Group example, like the first pitch, the lousy pitch, I was like, oh, we serve anybody who will pay us. Honestly, anybody in IT. It was so open that it was just like, wah, 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 like the Charlie Brown sound. So you really want to niche it. And once I decided, and I said, Microsoft NT, web portal development, boom, these guys right here, I serve you. And you start having the conversation directly, and you're not talking around, people can hear you. So this last company I worked for, an environmental engineering firm, Tetra Tech, TT, our group was focused entirely on EPA's Office of Water. And within Office of Water, so there's drinking water, there's wastewater, there's all kinds of water, wetlands and oceans and watersheds. They focus specifically on industrial discharge permitting and watershed management. 40 years they've been getting contracts in that, and written up as #1 in the Engineering News Record, which is a really big deal. So this is good stuff. Now, I will tell you, I led part of an effort while I was there. They wanted to expand into some drinking water stuff. So we did an acquisition, and we could have done it better. And within a few years, fizzle pop, gone, right? So if you are going to be building out something new, you have to make sure that you've created the relationships and the know, like, trust piece well in advance, or you have created the avenues so that they can plug in and they have resources available to really do their great work, or it's going to just dry up because that's not what you're known for. So that's a whole nother webinar. But this is really important stuff. So when you're having these conversations with your ideal prospect, you want to make sure that you have their full attention and you're speaking in the language that they use. Right? So if I was giving a webinar tonight to a bunch of engineers, I would be using a lot different language than I'm using to mostly professional services folks who are here tonight. right? Very different, but I can do that. So just gonna switch. So you wanna make sure that you're using the language, you're using the vocabulary, you're using things that, examples that are important to them. And then you're making a connection with these guys, and that curiosity piece, because there's so much noise, especially now from the pandemic, that people can't hear. They need to really be like, hey, now, here, right here, this is what you need to be paying attention to. And then you got to keep that attention, right? You got to be worthy of holding that attention. Attention is a gift, it's not a given. So we have to make them kind of curious, right? What's she doing? So you see, that's lemon squeezy there. So metaphorically speaking, are your clients behind you? Are you even looking at them? Yeah, I'm not even looking at him here, right? I'm doing that on purpose. But look at his little face. Look at his little face, right? He knows there's something of curiosity there. There's something he's curious about. He wants to know more. Now, have I invited him into a conversation? Non-verbally, I have, but I haven't turned around and faced him and invited him in yet. And so this can happen in business. You can be putting out your words, you can be putting out all kinds of stuff, and your people are back here, but they need one more thing from you to be able to buy. And you have not given it to them yet. And you've lost their attention and they drift off. And that's the truth. I've done it. And I've been like, whoa, what happened? Oh my gosh, they're gone. Okay. So we need to really pay attention. So we want to make sure that our offerings, we're reviewing the offerings that we have on the table right now. And you can see in this picture here, you know, are you for me? Yes. All I had to do was turn around a little bit or stand up. I forgot there. And he was like, oh, yeah, I want what you have. I want to be with you. I choose you. And we want the same. He doesn't always choose me. Let me just be clear. That day he did choose me. But in general, this is what we want in business, right? We want to have this little game. There's almost like a healthy tension sometimes. And then there it is. There it is. And you know, they might be a little bit afraid, but you're going to give them one more thing. And they're like, oh my God, yes, that was easy. So make sure that you're reviewing your offerings for your ideal clients, for this target market, but the ideal clients. Asking for feedback from your ideal clients is really important on a regular basis. You can get some sense, because what you think you are giving them may not be what they think they're buying or they are intending to buy. All right. So there could be a little gap there. So we want to make sure that we're closing that gap. Always be leveraging your time, your technology, your energy. So especially now with the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, the one-on-one kind of work, if any of you guys are delivering one-on-one, that's awesome. It just comes at a premium, all right? Because we want to really be leveraging our time and making sure that we're grouping as much as possible. And here's the other thing. There's so much value in a group. There's this need, as I mentioned, for connection, for depth of impact. And if you have the right kind of group of folks together, they can actually make magic together. And it becomes even better, almost better sometimes than a one-on-one, depending on what it is. So make sure that you provide introductory to VIP services or solutions if you're in the professional services, or refer it out. Because really what we're trying to do here is become a trusted advisor, a thought leader, an expert, the go-to. And in order to do that, you want to know what problem is that you're solving, or pain that you're relieving, or pleasure that you're providing, which I mentioned, and then have the solution. And then there's always another problem, right? And then there's another solution. So for longevity, you can do a number of things. You can focus on one problem or one solution and just be the best in the world at that, and that's awesome. That's just great. That's perfect. You can also travel with your clients and provide multiple solutions as they move along a growth trajectory. So for some of my clients, if they're, say they're reinvention people and they've been working in a corporate, whatever, they're not sure, now they're thinking, maybe I want to start a business, but I'm not sure I'm still working for corporate. Okay, so they hire me. We go through the whole reinvention thing. They eventually get ready to make a change. That's great. Then they make the change. So now there's a new set of issues. And if they feel like they want that, I can help them with the new space, right? This happens a lot. And sometimes they have a team, and sometimes they need strategic planning with their team. Okay, so I can help them with that. And then as their business grows and they get more people and they're building out, then they get new responsibilities and now they've been promoted to board level, whatever, then there's a whole different level of negotiations with the board, conversations and presentations to a board. There's all kinds of things that happen there. Got really good experience there. And then there's, oh, you know what, I want to retire. I'm thinking about selling. How do I help position this firm? You know, what do I even have here? So I'm not going to do evaluation on that. I'm going to hire, source that out. But I can help with the succession piece. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. Now, you can also have trusted partners that you refer those segments out to, which I've also done. So there's been clients who've worked with me to a certain point in business, and I don't do, all the web stuff and all the back end. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't want to do it. There's great people out there. So I've got people I refer out to. And so then they're done with that. They can come back around if they want to and there's a need. So that's how you can be generative with your business, right? And you can do the same thing in your company. So you're always keeping your eye on the ball. What's the next problem that's going to come up for our client? How can we solve this? How can we even now get more funding under an existing contract or task order or whatever it might be to do a little bit of recon on this emerging issue so that when the contract's ready for recompete, we've already got quals in the space. All right, this is just basic stuff. So really thinking about that. All right. So we're just about done here, and then I'll open the line for questions. So service delivery options. Right now, online is huge. So a ton of us pivoted to online for all kinds of things last year and had to learn all kinds of technologies or hire that out. So it's really important that you have an online component no matter what you're doing. I think it is. I think that you can be super creative with this. You could do video consults. I mean, I've seen horse trainers doing video consultations. You can do groups or single sessions. You can have fixed price contracts, all kinds of different things that you can do online. And people are also going to be really ready for in-person. So if you do any kind of in-person stuff, or you're working with a new team and you want to deepen an experience when it's safe, start targeting some unique experiences for them where they can start to connect on a deeper level. Some of the easier things to do if you've got the following is memberships or subscriptions, collaborations and joint ventures with others. We're all looking at value add. Subcontractors, so you might be the sub on one, you might hire a sub on another. So there's all these different kinds of cool collaborative things as long as you're serving the same target market. Automate things, make sure that some of your work is on demand. I created a little online program around reinventing greatness last year. It's all self-contained, so people can just buy it and run through it. It's got videos and worksheets and what else is in there? Oh, audio, all kinds of stuff in there. And then I also took that one and did a hybrid. So I had 9 live sessions with a group as well. So we took the content from the program and then we talked about it and made sure everyone was implementing it with accountability and all of that. So it was kind of a hybrid that I did last year, in addition to all the regular coaching and strategic planning and everything else. And then of course the passive income, you want to always be, if you're in business, really try to develop your IP, your intellectual property as much as you can so that you can be seen and heard. Okay. So then finally, it's like, where are you going to place this stuff? So you want to make sure that if you're doing your outreach yourself, be sure that you're using your best strengths. All right. If you're not, so some of my best strengths, for example, are writing and speaking. Some of my not so great strengths are social media and oh my gosh, Instagram and some of these things. That's just not me. So, and website stuff. So I have people that I can hire for that. But if your voice needs to be out there. So you got to make sure, if you are hiring anybody to help you with outreach, be sure that it's really you and your voice that's being reflected. All right, because people can sniff the difference. And if you just turn a blind eye and let someone else totally handle it, that might be okay depending on the business that you're in. But check it every once in a while to make sure it's authentic and it's true, it's authentic to you and you're really showing up. So there's a whole bunch of things listed here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but depending on your business and your work, there may be something here that you want to try. The biggest thing for me and folks in professional services, and most of my clients are in professional services organizations or own them, is to be seen as credible, as a trusted expert in the space. So a lot of that is journal writing. Being published in journals, online journals. It could be educational videos and different kinds of things, so people can see them in certain spaces and get valuable content. So try before you buy. It's also proven expertise. So they can see, you know, how fluid are you in your content? How much do you know? How, and test you really. It's kind of like a little test drive, and then they can call you up. And the other thing is really making sure, like I think that on here, direct outreach. I don't think I've put that on here. So networking groups, this is direct outreach. One of the things that I love to do is I love talking to interesting people. And so if I find someone interesting, and I've read an article and I'm like, who is that person? I'll try to get them on the phone at some point and just have a conversation, just because I'm a curious person. And one of my top strengths is learner. So I like to learn, and I'm really curious, and I do this on a fairly regular basis. And what generally happens with that, not all the time, but it's okay, is they'll be like, well, what do you do, and how do you do? And like, you know, do you do this or this, and do you have strategic planning, or you know, I'm actually thinking I'm going to make a shift, and I don't know, maybe we could talk about that at some point. Fine. It may not happen right then, but a year later, 2 years later, you know, there's a $50,000 contract or something. I mean, you just never know how it's going to work out, or a big, huge job. You never know. In fact, one person called me. She's like, oh, I heard from a friend of a friend, you know, we're kind of calling around looking for a leadership coach. You know, can you just give me a rate? And I said, well, what do you have going on? You know, can I ask you a few questions? And yeah, you know, we have this one person, and, you know, we're thinking she really needs leadership coaching for our organization. And she was all very, you know, like that. And I said, okay, so I said, I really, you know, if you don't have time right now, I'd love to schedule time, just talk to you a little bit more about what's going on. Okay, great. So fine, we talked for an hour, and then I asked her if I could go to the organization and meet her in person and whatever. I still have not given her a rate, right? So I asked her a bunch of questions, and she said at the end of the first phone call, she says, well, the other two just gave me rates. She's gotten 3 bids. And I said, good, that's good. I said, I just need more information, because I don't really even know if I can help you. I don't totally know if that's what you need. So we had a conversation. I went out to her organization. It ended up being $100,000 later, right? Because they needed a lot of help. And yeah, we did a little leadership coaching and reorg and all kinds of other stuff that ended up happening because they really needed some help. But this is that coming from that place of curiosity and coming from that place of best serve. I didn't know what they wanted, and I didn't really know if I was even a good fit. So you can backdoor some of these things. You know, you're not going to see a jig or two ad in the newspaper, because the newspaper goes to everyone, and I'm not for everyone. It's just the way it is. So, you know, be mindful about where you're spending your marketing dollars and time. And then finally, and this is kind of normal, but make sure you take the time in your business to eliminate any non-producing revenue streams. Just get rid of them, or modify them, make them productive, but don't tolerate it anymore. Get rid of toxic clients, toxic teammates, toxic staff, toxic environment, toxic anything. This is 2021. We don't need any toxicity. Let's just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. It's in your control. Get rid of it. Anything that's out of alignment, right? And then focus on building these relationships. Know your people. Survey your ideal clients. You know, why do they love you? We talked about this a little bit more. Get some feedback from them. Continue to give great customer service, and then create these strategic partnerships. You know, how can you help your strategic partner? How can they help you? There might be some synergies there that you haven't thought about yet. You don't have to do everything on your own. But be careful. Pick carefully with your strategic partnerships, because they need to be aligned and really committed to the same level of high quality service as you are. And then one of the most important things you can do is always to deepen your credibility. So using your strengths, show up where your ideal prospects are. Show up in your passion place. Write articles, anything that is a gift to them that's going to help them advance, do it for them, because you're going to love doing it anyway, because you love working with these people, and you get a chance to use your best strengths in the process. So if it's a podcast or a webinar or writing or a demo, I mean, some people are like, I don't really want to public speak, but I'll do a demo. I'm like, great, do a demo. Not everybody wants to do what I'm doing right here, but what they could do is they could have somebody sitting right next to them and have a conversation, right? Or you could have a demo of your service or something. That's a lot easier sometimes than just giving a talk straight out, but always coming from this place of service. Some of the things around credibility, lead fundraisers and different things, again, in your place of passion. Mentor business roundtables, community events, all of this kind of stuff, again, around your ideal market, your passion place. Remember those 3 circles we had in the beginning. And as part of this, you're going to be stretching your comfort zone, because remember, the status quo is over. Status quo is not going to work anymore. Everybody who's on the line tonight, anybody listening to this, is all in growth mindset, right? I know you guys are. I know we're all hungry for this. We're hungry to serve at a deeper level, at a more fun level, get better results for people, and just keep growing that, right? Continue to expand it. And if you've already done amazing, successful things, okay, how can you streamline your processes and your operations so that you're not overwhelmed by your own success? Because that's really important as well. And claim what you want. Just put a stake in the ground, even if it sounds crazy. Even if it sounds crazy. I had 2 people at my very first Alpha Horse Leadership Training for Humans, I called it. It was back in 2009. 2. And I was thrilled. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 2 people. And here I am, 2021, and I don't quite have that program anymore, but it's been repackaged and didn't do anything last year because no one could come, which is fine. But I've redone it in a lot of different ways, and I'm still retooling it now because, quite frankly, my horses are aging and they have certain tolerances and changes that are going on for them that make them not always want to do that kind of work. Not all of them, but some of them. So we have to change with the times. So definitely stepping out of your comfort zone. Take those baby steps. Be seen and be heard, and test some things out. Take some chances. So that is what I have to share with you today, and I'm going to leave with the Chinese fortune cookie that I live by. Control your own destiny, or someone else will. I found this in a fortune cookie when I was 16 years old, and I pulled it out and I thought, oh, wisdom, profound wisdom. And I kept it because I think it's really, really important. So what we're going to do now, if you haven't joined the Facebook community and you'd like to search for Reinventing Greatness with me, and it's a little group, and I will get you in there. And if you're interested in coaching, strategic planning, any of that stuff, please give me a call. I'd be happy to talk with you. 30-minute, free consultation, and we can just talk about whatever's on your mind there. So I'm really excited for all of you guys. I'm excited for what's happening, what's emerging in 2021 and beyond. And hopefully some of these fundamental concepts will be able to really shore up your base. It may be that you just need to make a couple of quick tweaks and fine tune a few things, and it will just open a whole new space for you. And it may be that you just need to make a couple little tweaks or wholesale improvements, and you'll be in a whole different direction. So whatever it is, I wish you tremendous success in 2021 and beyond. So thank you so much. And what we'll do now is open the line for questions. So